You ever just sit there in front of your handy-dandy glowing black mirror of despair and wonder, how did it come to this? How did a species of plains apes, hunter-gatherers, mammoth pokers, fire jugglers, campfire storytellers become this? A bunch of flabby meatbags, doom scrolling X and TikTok like our lives depended on it. Which they don't, unless you're an influencer. In which case, my condolences. Let's be clear here. We were never built for this. We are bargain bin hominids, apes with delusions of grandeur and no tails. I miss my tail, and I never had it. The shit we fling might be metaphorical rather than literal, but it's still shit. We were moulded by millions of years of screaming, bloody evolution, not for the 24-hour dopamine feed, but for a life of stabbing things with sticks, hauling carcasses across a savannah, and occasionally not getting eaten by something with teeth like kitchen knives and an attitude problem. And it's getting to the point where I think a lot of people today, unless they're fabulously wealthy, are starting to feel a bit envious of our caveman ancestors, because a short, brutal and nasty life seems far preferable to figuring out your tax return or shitting yourself to death when your colon finally gives out at the age of 110. You want to know why you feel tired all the time? Why getting out of bed is harder than cracking the secrets of nuclear fusion? It's because our ancestors spent millions of years optimizing for efficiency, for saving energy, for taking the absolute bare minimum path of least resistance. Because out there, in the big wide world, calories were scarce and predators were plentiful, and you couldn't just pop down to Cave Tesco for a family bucket of giant ground sloth nuggets. Evolution takes time, especially for big complex creatures like humans. Unlike fruit flies, it takes us a while to produce a new generation. We only started domesticating animals 13,000 years ago, and many people are still lactose intolerant. We only figured out that we could kinda sorta live off eating grass seeds about 12,000 years ago. Writing is only about 6,000 years old. The internet has only existed since 1983 and was only popularized and accessible in the 1990s. So, congratulations, Homo sapiens sapiens. You're still running on the meat computer upstairs that once went, ooh, berries, sweet, full of sugar, loads of energy. Let's eat as many of those as we can, because we might starve tomorrow. Only now, instead of stumbling onto a bush with 10 berries, you live in a society where you can order 3 gallons of chocolate milk and 40 sugary donuts without even leaving your couch. And then we wonder why the species looks like it's cosplaying as bin bags. But it's not just food, is it? Oh no. We are also the laziest bastards in the universe when it comes to effort. Any effort. Our entire technology tree is just a series of increasingly desperate attempts to not have to get up from the couch, or even get out of bed. Walking's a bit of a pain. Let's invent horses. Ugh. Horses smell funny and shit everywhere. Let's invent cars. Cars still involve going outside? Fine, drones. Can we just crack teleportation already? We're addicted to ease, to shortcuts. We want everything now, served on a silver platter with no manual labour involved. Why? Because that was the optimal survival strategy for the species for 95% of its existence and the entire existence of our older ancestors. And that's all fine, up until the point where the things we created to make life easier start chewing through our monkey brains like termites in a timber yard. Because here's the problem. we didn't just optimize for saving energy in the body, we optimized for saving energy in the mind. Thinking is hard. It's one of humanity's great strengths, but it is difficult. It burns calories. About 20% of your total calorie usage, and that's even the stupid people who need push notifications to remember to breathe. Your brain hates work, which is why when some random bloke on the internet shouts, "This thing is outrageous, look how bad the world is," your neurons will fire up and go, "Yeah, sounds about right, better not risk engaging our conscious mind, that costs hella calories, let's just roll with it instead of checking." And that, my friends, is why society currently resembles a slowly collapsing souffle. We were not built for this torrent of information. We were built for tribal gossip amongst no more than about 100 people. This constant Niagara Falls of nonsense pouring into our sense organs every second of the day is excessive, and we're maladapted to it. Once upon a time, news came from a bloke you knew, named Kronk, who'd been there. He'd say, "Me see lion eat gumba," and you'd go, "Oh, shit. Me like Gumba, he make good pots out of mud," and then you'd carve "Beware of Lions" onto a rock somewhere. Job's a good un. Now, you can get outraged by something happening 6,000 miles away, involving people you'll never meet, in a country you couldn't find on a map if I nailed your head to an atlas. And the worst part, you can do it all before breakfast, because that's healthy. 6 outrageous and horrifying world events before breakfast, or even coffee. And because we've evolved to conserve energy, we cannot cope with even the most basic and surface level of fact-checking. We just feel things and hit share. Angry retweet noises. Never mind nuance, never mind context. Ain't nobody got time for that. And so we drown. We drown in a sea of bullshit, bobbing along on a lilo of ignorance, waving at each other while the sharks of disinformation circle below. But here's a twist for you. It's not entirely hopeless. Oh no, there is a glimmer of hope in this greasy fryer of despair in which we find ourselves, because believe it or not, we can adapt. Slowly, painfully, but we can. We've done it before. When the printing press first came along, people panicked, and people believed any old shit that was written down because they'd been trained that things that were written down were holy. Oh no, books everywhere, peasants will read, society will collapse, and yet it didn't. When TV showed up, everyone said, "It's going to rot our brains," and to be fair, they were pretty right, but at least we got the A-team out of it, so not a complete waste of time. Same with instant messaging, email, radio, even TikTok, though that one's still pending review. We adapt, but it takes time. And unfortunately, technology outstrips culture, and culture outstrips biology. And in the meantime, oof. So what do? Well, bare minimum, the absolute caveman baseline. When you see something online that makes your blood boil, or jerks your tears, or makes you terrified, or makes you want to throw your phone into the sun, just stop. Take a breath. And, I don't know, maybe check if it's true before you repeat it, share it, or start screaming into the digital void like a meth-addled banshee. Because here's the thing, that little rush of outrage, that juicy cocktail of adrenaline and self-righteousness, it short-circuits your brain. That's why everyone is trying to make you angry or afraid all the time, because it makes you stupid, which is why disinformation spreads faster than common sense on the internet, because thinking is hard, and it uses calories, and we're hardwired not to waste calories. Meanwhile, hitting the little reshare button is easy and gives you a nice little dopamine hit. Take this currently much shared clip, for example.
you know the caution again, or are you?
Well, what I've done? Tell me what I've done.
There's been a member of the public who you've apparently been shouting at, calling him a muppet.
Right, I'm up it. Yeah, and
You caused him alarm and distress.
She's very upset
right.
about it.
Well, I'm gonna be straight with you guys now.
Right, we all hear how draconian the British police are getting and how out of control various acts of censorship and so on are, and I would agree to an extent, though I won't take any lectures from Americans who are currently descending into full-blown fascism, protest bans, people being kidnapped off the street and sent to camps. You know, it seems a little more pressing, I think. But that guy was not being straight with you, and the people resharing it to fit the current narrative are not being straight with you. That little gem comes from 2022. Not yesterday, not last week, not even last year, but 2022. That's like 4 internet centuries and a government ago. But does anyone care? No, probably not. Because the second it popped back up on someone's feed, the outrage machine kicked into gear and choo-choo, full steam ahead. But what's this clip about? It's from Auditing Yorkshire. Who's that? Well, gather round, children. Auditing is this delightful little phenomenon that's been imported from across the pond, like most terrible things. It started off over there as something called First Amendment auditing in the States. Basically, people filming public officials to make sure that they weren't trampling free speech, which, you know, in principle, fine. Accountability is good, making sure people are acting according to the law and so on is good. Except, of course, that the people who do this quickly figured out that if you poke a bear enough times, it reacts. And when the bear mauls you, you get better views. More traction in the algorithms. So now, it's mostly professional antagonists running around with cameras, deliberately winding up security guards, cops, and people just trying to do their jobs, mostly people with badges, but not just people with badges, in order to try and provoke and force a reaction that they can then monetize. Of course, they don't show all of the lead up to everything, just the dramatic moments where someone finally loses their patience. Because nothing says hero of liberty like screaming, "Am I detained?" at a community support officer outside Greg's. Auditing Yorkshire, he is the UK version of that whole American phenomenon. He's built a career on harassing people, provocation, apparently shouting at people in the street, and it doesn't really matter whether you call them a cunt or a muppet. It's the provocation and the aggression that's the issue. Little wonder that the police are looking for any excuse to shut this guy down. His entire shtick is getting in people's faces until they snap and then crying "tyranny" on YouTube. And now some old clip of him doing this exact thing gets resurfaced, resurrected and reframed as "look at the police state cracking down on an innocent citizen," which sure fits the narrative that some people want to believe, and that's how the game works. But nobody checks. Nobody asks, when was this? Who is this guy? What led up to this situation? Why did it happen? Because that requires effort and doesn't fit your pre-existing conception of what might be going on. Even clicking on community notes on X is too much effort for most people. And effort is the enemy. So they just share, and the outrage spreads like herpes at a music festival. And this is also where confirmation bias comes in. Yes, a lovely little brain parasite. Confirmation bias is the thing in your head that makes you ignore anything that contradicts what you've already put effort into believing, and so you cling to it like a drunken, chlamydia-ridden koala, holding on to anything that agrees with you, even if it's total bollocks. It's why arguing on the internet is about as productive as trying to teach philosophy to a toaster. The toaster has no means to comprehend the philosophy, and philosophy is not worth it in the first place. People don't want the truth, they want validation. It's easier, it doesn't involve thinking and burning those precious calories. They want their existing worldview to be polished and handed back to them like a participation trophy, and if you give them that, then they'll seemingly believe anything, nobody will thank you for correcting them, even if you are 100% right. Case in point, there's that show, Landman, which has done quite well. You know, that one with the famous speech where the big oil guy goes off on a rant about how renewable energy is a scam, wind turbines are worse for the environment, and the only way forward is drilling for an increasingly limited amount of oil. People share that clip like it's gospel truth, which is doubly ironic because the gospel itself is bollocks. But people I know and respect as otherwise intelligent and compassionate human beings keep repeating it and pointing to it. Finally, someone telling it like it is, they cry, while sitting in their SUVs. Except here's the inconvenient fact. He's full of shit. Even the oldest wind turbines offset their carbon by many, many times over during their lifespan, and more modern ones can offset their carbon by 25 times or more. Solar panels, same deal, and here's a fun one for you. The land under and around solar farms can still be used in many forms of farming. There are even clear forms of solar panel now that could possibly even allow for crops to continue to be raised underneath and somewhat protected from the elements as well. Win-win. But mostly, the land can still be used for grazing. Cows, sheep, goats, the whole lot. But will that stop people from quoting a fictional oil baron in a TV show as if he's a Nobel Prize winning climate scientist? Of course not, because it feels right. Because it matches what they already believe or what they already want to believe. And feelings seem to beat facts every damn time because it's less calorie intensive. Even getting someone to Google something is too much effort. Even activists themselves will often tell you that it's not my job to educate you, or Google is free, when educating and informing people is the whole fucking point of activism. And that, dear viewers, is why I've been pissing in the wind for however long this video has now wonked on for. Asking people to put in the tiniest shred of effort to fact check, to question, to apply even a cocaine spoon's worth of skepticism is like asking a cat to do your taxes, or much of anything. It's a cat. But we need to, we have to, because this tidal wave of bullshit isn't slowing down anytime soon. If we don't learn to swim in it, we're going to drown in our own stupidity and complicity. So please, for the love of dog, next time you see a viral video, a spicy take, or a righteously angry thread, do me a personal favour. Treat it with the same tiny modicum of skepticism with which you treat advertising, at the very least. Because if you can question whether shampoo will really make your hair 10 times shinier, or you realise that up to 100% includes everything from 0% upwards, then you can question whether some rando on the internet is really telling you the truth, or that there might be more context or nuance or complication. I understand it requires thinking, that's difficult, energy intensive, requires effort, but we've got to make that effort. Or we're being manipulated and controlled constantly by the people that do make even the most minimal effort. They're not all good people. And with that, I'm off to bang my head against a brick wall, because it's less painful than reading the comments. Zang. Postmortem Studios, role-playing games, and a lot more to die for. Post-mort.com